I was an alcoholic. Day and night, I would think about drinking. The most important thing in my life was where was I going to get the next drink? I didn't care where it was, how much it cost, or what it would do to me. I couldn't quit drinking no matter what I did, no matter what I thought, no matter what self help book I tried to read, no matter if I tried to only drink on weekends, or only drink at night, or only drink outside the house, or only drink at home. No matter what I did, I couldn't quit drinking because I was an alcoholic. But once I figured out this one little thing, my life began to change. It changed everything, and I could never look at alcohol the same. Because you see, when I was drinking heavily, it caused problems in my life. I went through problems in my marriage, went through problems with my job, went through problems in life and health and mental capacity. I wasn't the same person I was before I started drinking. Alcohol made everything worse. But I wondered, why couldn't I quit? If I hated this stuff so much, and I know what it's doing to my body and my mind so much, then why can't I quit? Well, the reason you're going to find in this call is actually quite shocking. And I think it might change your mind when it comes to alcohol. Now, before we get into it, I want to make a disclaimer, and that is that Terry and I are not doctors. So if you're drinking heavily, always go to the doctor because this stuff can be very, very dangerous to your health. With that said, Terry, how you doing, and what was it like for you before you realized what it was that made you able to stay sober?
Oh, it was. I'm doing all right. It's a bit smoky here. We got fires all over the place. Fortunately, they're not too close to me, but the smoke's coming in. Anyways, that's welcome to the Bay Area in or California in August and September. That's what it's like now. We have fire season. We don't have fall anymore. It's called fire season. For me, my problems were just about the same thing that you're talking about. You know, I had the family problems, I had the health issues, the job issues, and, you know, things were spiraling out of control. And they were all great reasons to quit. I had huge reasons to quit. I was going to lose everything, and in fact, in the end, I did lose almost everything. But that's not what made me quit. I mean, yes, it contributed, but that was not the deciding factor. So, you know, and we'll get into what some of the reasons were why I was able to finally make that jump to get the help I needed to quit. So, yeah, welcome everybody. Good to see you all.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to look at because a lot of us are looking for a one size fits all approach or something that's going to change everything when it comes to alcohol. And I think that something does exist, but I think it needs to come as a process. There was something in rehab. I don't know if I have my old book here. I think I do. Hopefully I can find it without yanking these earphones out of my head. But there was one of these books here I had where I kept all my rehab papers. And it was talking about the 2 foot drop. It was talking about the 2 foot drop where, you know, something goes from your mind, because we can know something in our mind and have it not affect our life. It happens all the time. It's like, I know that I shouldn't be doing this, but I do it anyway. I know that I should be doing this, but I'm not doing it anyway. I know that this food is bad for me, or I know that the effect of doing this will be good, yet I don't do it, even though I know what it's going to do. And the reason is because head knowledge is not the same as heart knowledge. And it's very interesting because in Eastern cultures, if you were to study Eastern cultures, a lot of Eastern cultures that have been around a lot longer than us cowboys here in America, right? Been around quite a lot longer. What we notice is that they've had time to understand things. They've had time to look at things. They've had a history of, hey, you know, this is how we view things. And one of the things that they view differently is that the mind and the body are connected. Interesting, right? We always think of it like, okay, we're this head dangling around a body, and that's pretty much what it is. They look at it as, hey, we're kind of all one. What you put in your belly affects how your mind reacts. What you do with your mind affects how your body reacts. Now, in Western culture, we don't look at that a lot, and we don't look at, okay, what's it take to go from here to here? Well, I think it takes a deep belief. We need to talk about what it's like to have a deep belief and a changing of the mind. right? Once we start to change our mind and understand, hey, I'm living by a new set of rules. Because here's the key. The rules that you're living by right now were created by you. You see, the key of life is that you could do whatever you want as long as you're willing to pay the price. Everything comes at a cost. I could go drink my ass off as much as I want. I can also go do things when I'm drunk, but I have to pay the price for them. Maybe I get in a fight. Maybe I get pulled over, or worse, maybe I hurt someone. I got to be willing to pay the price for what happens when I drink. And when you understand this, that, hey, I'm willing to do, or I can do whatever I want, it's a matter of, am I willing to pay that price for that reward or that payoff? And once we understand that, it takes the sting out, because I know a lot of alcoholics are sitting there like they're, oh, I'm an alcoholic and I can't help it. Well, you're an alcoholic, and yes, you can help it. Now, you might be in the grips of alcoholism right now. Okay, we're going to get to that in a minute. That's the reason that we're going to talk about that's shocking. It's going to change everything once you understand it, because once you understand these principles of life and really believe them, right? You might think, well, Marcus said, you could do whatever you want if you're willing to pay the price, but I don't really believe that because I can't do this. Well, yes, you can. All right, there are things you can do. And we have to look at this and we have to understand it. Very important. So, Terry, what are your thoughts on that? And what was it like for you when you were struggling? Like, what was it like? How did you feel? How did you respond? What kind of mindset were you in?
Well, I knew that alcohol was what made me feel good. That was the main thing, is that was my kind of default setting is, okay, I don't feel good, I'm going to drink. And I knew I had to quit because of all those reasons I already mentioned. And the fact that I couldn't go do things, although I still did them, in a dangerous way. But that mindset was just, this is the answer, and it makes me feel good, and I liked that. So that was one thing that really kept me drinking. Another thing, which is kind of on the other side of it, was, and this was a big reason I didn't want to quit, was every time I stopped, I would not feel good. I'd start to get sick. I'd start to shake. I'd start to get those withdrawal symptoms. I'd start to get dizzy. And, that's what put me in the hospital was not the drinking itself. It was the quitting and not having professional help when I quit. It almost killed me. And that was a huge factor. I was afraid of that. So getting into that fear, so I was afraid of the physical aspect of stopping drinking, but I was also afraid of the mental aspect. I didn't know how to live without a drink, and that's even a bigger fear that I had, and I just couldn't even picture it. I mean, alcohol was a go-to answer for everything, whether it was good or bad, celebrating something, celebrating my birthday or whatever. Alcohol, yeah, celebrating my sports team's win, yeah, alcohol, or whatever, or something's going really bad. I have a stressful legal situation coming up. I better drink. Yeah, that's going to help. Alcohol doesn't help. It doesn't help anything ever. We think it does. And that's another thing, our minds have been conditioned that, with all this commercialization and, you see the people partying on the beach with their beer in their hand and, oh, life's great because I have a beer and I'm on the beach and all the good looking people are hanging out with me, And so I was conditioned that alcohol makes things better, and it just doesn't. And it never has for me. I've had good times with alcohol, absolutely. But is alcohol what made these things like going to the wine country and stuff better? No, it wasn't. It was being with the friends, and I'm able to do that now sober, and I'm able to be there and be present all the time. And I don't have to pay for it the next day, and don't have to pay for it, and for months on end and with legal bills or whatever because of the damage I caused. So, that's kind of, I was really in a downward spiral there, and alcohol, it had literally hijacked my mind and hijacked the way I think, and it made me think that it was the answer to everything.
Absolutely. And I think that, when we look at it, it's very difficult when you're an alcoholic trying to get sober. And there's a big reason that people don't talk about. And the big reason is that you are trying to get sober with an alcohol brain. And this is the thing. You look at this, and I titled this video, I'll Never Drink Alcohol Again. The reason is shocking. And the reason is shocking. You might think, oh, well, he got in legal trouble, or his doctor said no more, or it's over. Okay? Both these things happen, right? Health trouble, yes. Money trouble, yes. All these things happened. But they didn't cause me to quit, right? I'm sitting there at the top of a mountain, and I'm like, okay, or at the bottom of the mountain, as it were, rock bottom, as they call it. And I'm wondering, why is this not working? Why is it not? Why, if I went out and met a friend, I'm like, hey, how you doing, friend? And I came home, and I had a great time with my friend. And I came home, and I got the flu. I was like, that's weird. And I went again. And I said, hey, friend, great time with the friend. Came home, got the flu. Pretty soon, I'm going to look at it and be like, my friend's pretty cool, but getting the flu sucks. And that's what alcohol does. And we feel like crap 24/7, and we don't even know we feel like crap because we're just trying to maintain normal. Today, I woke up, and I feel like I could run up a mountain. Why? Because I'm not hungover, I love my life, and I decided to do some different changes in my diet, which we'll talk about in a minute. But here's the deal. I never attributed the cause. Like going with the friend, it was easy. I go with the friend, I get the flu. He carries the flu. He apparently has the flu all the time, right? In this analogy. So I stopped hanging out with him. It sucks, yeah, whatever. But never once in my alcoholism did I ever say, holy shit, it's the alcohol causing the problem. Never once was I able to admit that this is what's causing the problem. And this is the beginnings of chemical dependency. And when we look at chemical dependency, that's the reason I stopped. Because I realized that I was willing to do the most insane things to get this chemical that's making me sick and fucking up my life. I'd do anything to get it. And I had to look at it and say, why? It's because I'm a moral failure. Did I abandon the church? I did. I used to be a street preacher, and I abandoned the church. And at one point, I thought it was my forsaking of the church that caused me to be an alcoholic. No, it was the alcohol. And once I understood, I'm chemically dependent on this thing that's warping my brain and making me unable to see that I'm chemically dependent on this thing that continues to warp my brain, poof. I was now able to separate the alcohol from the alcoholic. And I was able to say, without alcohol, an alcoholic cannot exist. Can't exist. If you have no alcohol, you can't be an alcoholic. Be a recovered alcoholic or whatever fancy word you learned in rehab. But you cannot be an active alcoholic without alcohol. And once I understood it's the problem with the alcohol, take the alcohol, get it off the table, now we can live sober. And then everything started to change. And then, as they say, bring your brain. All right, bring your brain. Let's just go, let's do this. And your ass will follow. Bring your brain, and the rest of you will follow. And if you get sober, the rest of you is going to follow. Very important to look at, because so many people are protecting alcohol to the bitter end. Why? Why? What's the point? What are your thoughts on that, Terry?
Oh yeah, I totally agree. For those of you out there that have some sobriety, maybe you can relate, and those of you that are struggling, maybe you can't relate, or maybe you can. I don't know. But my thoughts were, yeah, the same thing as Marcus. It's not the alcohol. My problems are because of this, or because of this person, or whatever. It was always something else, someone else's fault. If I could fix these things, if I could get more money, if I could, maybe if I move, or maybe if I just drink on weekends or whatever. And then I would never blame the alcohol itself. But I challenge you to this. Try stopping drinking. See where your life goes. See if things get better. Don't drink for a while. Get professional help to quit drinking. You need it. But try it. Go a month. Go 2 months. You can always start drinking again. I could start drinking again anytime. But I found that when I did take alcohol out of the equation, things started to get better. Some people things don't get better right away because they've had some issues that they have to deal with right away. But for me, things did get better, and some things took time. It's patience. That's another challenge for getting sober. Is I when I was in that early sobriety, I knew deep down that one drink of alcohol and things would instantly feel better. Would they feel better for a long time? No, but I'd feel better right away. And when you get sober, things don't tend to get instantly better. You don't get that instant gratification anymore. You get it, but things do slowly get better. And if you keep looking to those little, tiny little things that happen every day that are better, then you can build on that, and you can just be grateful for those little things, and that can build your sobriety and start to get some time under you, and then those things will start to snowball more and more. And that's what's happened with me, is that things have slowly gotten better, and over the years, life's great now. I love being sober, and now I also, at the same time, have to pay attention to the fact that there's this sleeping tiger in me that's doing push-ups, as they say in rehab, but and that I have to be aware that I can't have that one drink. That instant gratification is not going to be worth it. So it's something that I have to be aware of. I don't have to sit there and dwell on it 24 hours a day, but I do have to be aware of it, and that's big.
Absolutely. And I think if you really boil it down, and I've been studying this stuff for quite some time, I think if you really boil it down, there's only two reasons people actually relapse. The first reason is because of situations they're not prepared for, right? You relapse because you're like, wow, I wasn't ready for that. Okay? That's one reason. The second reason, which I think is the more prevalent one, the more popular one, is because people have not accepted that alcohol is the problem and the problem alone. They haven't accepted it, right? When we look at it, and we look at when Terry came out of rehab, started drinking again after a month, I think we could look at it and say, okay, it's probably because it wasn't completely off the table. Alcohol is the problem. It was still the solution at that point, or some solution, or a sliver of a solution, but it wasn't completely off the table. When it's completely off the table, like for me, there's situations I've been like, wow, I don't know how I made through made it through that sober, but I did. Why? Because even when cravings come up, a lot of people talk about cravings. Oh, how do we do with cravings? How do we deal with cravings? I don't have to deal with cravings because I know no matter how loud the craving gets, alcohol's off the table. This is a game changer if you pay attention to it. And unfortunately, they don't really teach this. They just teach management and stuff. But if you look at it like, well, alcohol's off the table. Well, Marcus, what are you going to do about cravings? Not a damn thing, because I'm not going to drink alcohol. That's what I'm not going to do. The craving can sit and talk and talk and talk. The feelings can come, but I'm not going to drink alcohol as long as I'm standing. As long as I'm standing, I'm not going to do it. All right? And when we look at that, and we have that matter-of-fact life change of I'm not going to do this anymore, no matter what. Well, what do you do when you get in an argument with your spouse? I go sit on the seat. There's a seat out there, over there somewhere, right in the backyard. And I sit out there. What do I do when I'm sad because my dad's going through stuff right now? Sit out there. Now, I used to sit out there with cigars. Some people are talking about switching one addiction for another. All right, did I switch alcohol for cigars? I don't think so. Right, I could go without cigars. I didn't have to deal with it. Now, was it a mild addiction? Probably. But I recently stopped that as well because, it's not exactly healthy. But in the beginning, hey, it was okay. Hey, I switched from one to another. This one's not gonna end things today, but alcohol probably will. All right, so we got to take things in moderation, and we got to slow down, and we got to understand that life isn't a marathon. It's a sprint. It's a marathon.
Right.
That one, right?
Yeah.
We're going through, and we're doing what we can do, and we're helping. And like DJ Nashville says, moderation is not possible. Not for me. Can't do it. I can't moderate.
Yeah, JM, just what Marcus was just saying is alcohol, take alcohol off the table. You're saying that you've been sober a year and it's been hard the last few weeks because beer's been all around you. Go to a baseball game, everybody's drinking beer. You go to the lake, everybody's drinking. Why are you struggling now? Because you're an alcoholic. And for me, yeah, I go to places where alcohol is being served, but that's not a habit that I do. You know, if the beer is triggering you or the lake is triggering you, stay away for a while. You know, a lot of people have cravings, year, 2 years, 3 years, and I've seen people with decades that all of a sudden they get a craving. It happens. We're addicts. That's just part of the chemistry that's in our brain. Something triggers us, and then we have this craving. But with alcohol off of the table, that it's just not a choice. That's the first step in being able to beat that craving. But having something else you can do, like another sober alcoholic that you can call, or somebody that may not be, you know, a sober alcoholic, but they can drink normally, but that's, you know, close to you in your life that you can call, that knows your situation, that you can talk to. Something like that is a great tool to use. And just having a strong program of sobriety, consistently working on stuff. I consistently work on sobriety daily. Do I put a lot of effort? I've said it many times. I don't put a ton of effort, but I do put some effort into my sobriety every day. And I do stay constantly aware that there's going to be situations that pop up that I didn't plan for, specifically plan for, but I have these tools that I can use and fall back on in case something like that does happen. And the other thing is having a strong base of sobriety will allow me to handle those situations which I'm not expecting, because I've already got a concrete way of handling the situations that I am expecting. So that's one way that you can get around that. But you know, we're going to struggle here and there. It's going to happen. Beginning of shutdown, I had not necessarily struggles with alcohol cravings, but I had struggles of, I want more. I'm bored. What am I going to do? I want more out of life, you know, because life had suddenly changed. I had to figure out some things to do, and I proactively did that. And then I was able to make it through lockdown. And maybe our next lockdown, I don't know. We'll see.
Absolutely. Stephanie says, triggers are the hardest for me. I can go a few days at most. Well, I think what's happening is you're giving into the trigger after a couple days, which makes it stronger. Right? It's like, okay, you go a little bit, you're doing progress, and then you give in, and it makes it stronger, and you're starting at day one again. Instead of going through and saying, hey, you know what? I'm just going to ignore these triggers for a month or whatever it is, right? And when we start to understand that, I think it's very, very important to look at, because of the fact that, hey, if it's off the table, it's off the table. Can't have something that's off the table.
Right. Well, I guess we can get into some more comments, yeah?
Yep.
One thing I wanted to talk about real quick was the reason, I'll never drink alcohol again, and the reason is shocking, and I alluded to the reason why I did end up quitting, and I talked about all those reasons why I should quit, the family, the legal issues, the money, the health, and for most of us, those are usually very strong factors. A lot of people will stop because, they're parents, they want to be good parents, and there's many reasons to quit. And those, I'm not a parent, but those other reasons were big for me. But, the biggest one was that every time I tried to quit, the detox was just amazingly painful for me, and I couldn't handle it. And that's what ended up putting me in the hospital for a couple of weeks in a coma, was the detox. the seizures from detox, and I'm sure a couple of you have experienced this as well. But it's a horrible thing, and it did almost kill me. And for some reason, I wanted to keep living. And so I realized that alcohol has to come off at the table, and that's when it actually did. That was the single most thing that made me quit right away, that made me start to put out that effort. And a lot of people call that a bottom, and that was my bottom. And so, it depends on what your bottom is. Some people, they don't survive because their bottom is all the way down, and that's a horrible thing to see, but it happens. So, but you don't have to get to that bottom. You can stop before that, and that's what we're trying to show you guys here on our weekly webinars, is just show you that you don't have to hit bottom. Maybe recognize that alcohol is becoming an issue for you, and you can stop. It's much easier to stop before you get as addicted as I was. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Donna says, Marcus and Terry, is it advisable to stop addictions simultaneously? For me, alcohol and nicotine substitute. Well, I would look at one at a time. I mean, that's just how I would do it. I started smoking cigars in rehab because everyone had cigarettes, and I didn't want cigarettes, so I got my cigars. And I had always off and on had cigars, never consistently till after I got sober. But, I thought that alcohol was the most pressing one. Like, I think a lot of people try to do too much. They're like, okay, now that I'm sober, I'm going to lift weights and get married and do this and do that and start a new career. And it's like, wow, you're just asking for it. When I got sober, I took almost a year off work, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to take it easy. I'm going to make things chill, and I'm going to focus on not drinking, because that's the most pressing thing. And I think that was really important to look at.
I had doctors tell me that I needed to stop smoking and drinking at the same time. And they all said that. They said you need to quit everything at the same time. Of course, with doctor's supervision. I don't know if I could say that enough, but with doctor's supervision. And then I had other people that were in 12-step programs that said, quit the thing that's going to kill you right now first, and then worry about the other one later. So, it's a dangerous question, actually, as far as some people may take that question as if you're addicted to other chemicals, the drugs, the harder drugs, and alcohol. Well, yeah, you should probably quit everything at once. I never had an issue with any of the other stuff that's out there, but I know I can't do any of it. Absolutely. I wouldn't even consider it. With the way I'm addicted to more. So alcohol happened to be the thing. Anything else, it's going to be more. I'm going to want more. So I had to quit everything I could. So yeah. JM, there was one I wanted to get right here, Marcus. My wife almost had me believe I didn't have a problem. I was only drinking a 24-pack a week when I stopped. Opinions? I can't give you an opinion on whether that's an alcohol problem or not. For me personally, I don't know if it would be a problem or not, but it's you. You're the one that has to decide if that's a problem. Is it affecting your life in a negative way? That's really the simplest question you can ask yourself, and try to think about that. Answer it honestly. Is the amount that you're drinking affecting you in a negative way? For me, it was obvious. It was affecting me in a negative way. But I know people that would drink like 4 glasses of wine a day. I guess that's about the same amount. But and they call themselves alcoholics, and their life was being affected in a negative way, and they needed to quit. And they did put the same effort into their sobriety as I put into mine, and that's great. So they get out of it. So it's really a question you really need to ask yourself.
Absolutely. Also, we're at the halfway point of our talk, so I want to mention our coaching club over at talksober.com. If you guys like these talks and want to get more help from Terry and I in the course we put together, it's a 30-day course to help you get and stay sober. It's good if you've been sober for years. It's good if you're just starting to get sober. Remember, it is not a substitute for doctors' or anything like that. We're not doctors. This is just talking about the mental stuff and the stuff that we went through that helped us. And if you do want to support the channel and get access to all that, it is extremely inexpensive, and it supports what we're doing right now, which right now we're actually running a loss on this, which Terry and I are debating with the idea of just going back to regular videos on this channel instead of the weekly talk, something we're throwing around. So if you do want the weekly talk, that will be in the Talk Sober as well. It'll always be in there. We will always do a weekly show in there. So if you're interested in getting help through that and helping us out, you can go over to talksober.com. You can sign up. The way it works is very simple. You just go to talksober.com. You click on the yellow button here, right? And then you'll be able to sign up. Now, the difference between the live talks that we have in this recovery class and the live talks here on YouTube is it is more personal. So you will get more one-on-one time. You'll get more advice. It's more about your stuff rather than a topic. Oftentimes the topics here we do so that we get more people in. But in that, it's more of like a, hey, come on in and share your story and everything like that, which is pretty cool. So talksober.com, click the yellow button, sign up, help us out. Again, right now we are running at a negative, so we're not making a whole lot on it. And we would like to do this more full-time so that we can help you guys out. I run a full-time business. Terry wants to do this more full-time. So we're trying to work that out with our schedules and figure out what's best for this channel and what's best for you guys as well, so that we can help you guys out. But again, remember, pretty much every time you see us live here, it is coming out of our pocket. We are paying to do this. Which, I mean, I think we run a little bit of a positive. I know I'm not, but, you know, we try to make that work for you guys and everything like that. Louise says, do you guys accept PayPal? We don't on this one. We might add it in the future, but the card that you use here is all through Stripe, so it's not like we're getting the data or anything. It's all handled by a third party. It's all secure and everything like that. And on this form, you can use a PayPal debit card. So if you want to do that, and it's $27 a month, you get, I think there's 28 letters. There's going to be 30. I'm behind on 2. And there's videos, there's worksheets, there's all kinds of stuff to help you get and stay sober. And we are working on a forum as well, so you guys can all talk to each other in a private space that's just us recovering alcoholics talking together. So if you do want that, talksober.com, click the big yellow button. Fill out the form right here. You'll get instant access. If you have any questions or anything, just let us know.
Yes, indeed. Sign up. And yeah, Ben says, I think if people view alcohol the way it was viewed during Prohibition, it would be a wake-up call. It's a hard drug, in my opinion. More people should try and see it as that. And yes, it can be a hard drug. There's, but you know, like 90% of the people in the world, they're able to drink without any repercussions or any negative effects. So, you know, just I can't, and most of us on this call can't. And we have to, and yes, we definitely need to look at it as that. Absolutely. What else we have here? Ben was just saying, I'm not trying to promote anything, but I will say Jace Meyer's talks are very helpful in relation to finding gratitude and help in your daily life. She focuses on anxiety and abuse too. And absolutely, check out everything. And that's one thing that I believe pretty strongly in, is when I got sober, I tried everything. It doesn't sound like Joyce Myers is about sobriety, but more about how you handle yourself and your mental issues like anxiety and abuse. But for me, for getting sober, I tried everything I could. And I would encourage you guys to try everything you can. There's other programs out there. And I can go into them, tell you the faults that I think they have. But I don't think that's fair. I think you guys should try stuff, try different things, see what works for you. Don't push anything away is the thing that I would recommend mostly. A lot of people are anti this, anti that, anti AA, whatever. But I think you need to go into sobriety with an open mind and give everything a chance. It's really important because the second we start, or the second I start, to look at things negatively, it's going to give me an excuse to not work on my sobriety, to not do this. And then I'm going to maybe go back to the drink. So I try to stay open.
Absolutely. DJ says, would you consider doing a part 2 for the Talk Sober study? What was the Talk Sober study? I don't remember that.
I don't know. Not sure what you're talking about.
We studied something, apparently.
DJ, explain a little more. Maybe you can look it up real quick on YouTube and let us know what video it is.
Absolutely. And the book, I'm 2 chapters behind, so that's all we got. I'm going to try to get them done real quick.
Right on. Yes.
And by the way,
back up.
if you guys do want to read the book, most of it is in Talk Sober right now. So once you sign up, you'll get access to all of it. Let me see if I can find the logins to show you what it looks like in there. I hope I can. Let's see. Oh, wow. Did I get it on the first time? Do you ever feel like it's a jackpot when you get your logins on the first time? You're like, yay, I won. I don't have to remember them anymore. So once you sign up for Talk Sober, it'll look like this when you log in. And you'll just go into the Talk Sober membership. And it's got like a nice little welcome video. It's got a sobriety contract to yourself you can print out. Sobriety contract to family and friends, or an accountability partner if that's what you want to do. Or you could even just take a picture of it and upload it to the members area if you want to do that. Also, I'm an alcoholic. Now what? This will give you some advice on what to do once you figure out, okay, alcohol is the issue. It's got links and videos. We also have the 30-day sobriety plan. This is one, I've been going through this kind of thing for the last 7 years. Like, this isn't something that now that I'm 7 years sober, I don't do. It's something that really helps. So once you get in there, you can download the progress guide, which will walk you through everything, what you learned, how the video worked, everything like that. And then when you get into the letters, the book is the letter. So you'll get the letter here. They're about 7 to 10 pages long each. And they'll go through something we want to teach you. Okay? And then you can watch a video that Terry made about that letter. All right. And then there's like a worksheet you can go through. So each day has its own little progress guide. It's got its own exercise, its own worksheet. And you could go through and see all kinds of things like this one, Glimpse of My Former Self. Download the letter, exercise. It'll go through the exercise. And it's like a full-on course. Like, we worked our butts off on this. A couple ones that we need to add to. But there's a lot of really good stuff in here. And as they say, you only need a few good ideas to beat it, this addiction. And there's a lot of good ideas in there that will help you. So talksober.com, click that big yellow button, get yourself signed up, and you'll be ready to rock.
Yes, indeed. What we really try to focus on, when we get sober first, our biggest issue is the physical addiction aspect of it, and the mental aspect of it. But after a week or two, for most people, some people the physical addiction stays longer. But well, like we say a million times, you always need to get professional help for that physical part because it is dangerous. But once that ends, then we're mentally addicted, and that's where the relapse comes back in, and that's why so many people struggle, because it becomes a mental issue. And what our program does, we really try to address the mental issues, those mental cravings, the triggers, things like that. Things like for me, just trying to worry about what I'm doing right now. No, don't worry so much about what the other person is doing, or you just need a couple of good ideas. That's one of our days, one of the topics for one of our days. But working on that mental aspect is important. And that's what we have to try to do on a consistent basis, is just try to get ourselves more into that sober mindset so that we are making the right decisions and, taking those actions to keep our mental sober mind going in the right direction. I don't know if I said that right, but anyways. So that's what we try to do.
Christine says, do you guys ever experience a fear of relapse, even paranoia about failing and losing everything all over again? Yes, sometimes I do. I think it's healthy because it keeps me from drinking. Now, do I want it to, like, keep me stuck? No, but I think it will help.
Yeah, I've absolutely. That's why I do what I do. I do have a fear of relapse. Fear has not disappeared in my life. I'm just able to control it more. But
And accept it, I think, too.
yeah, yeah, it's just part of our feelings. It's a natural thing, and it helps keep us safe.
There's an interesting quote by Warner Earhart, who I like his stuff because he took like Zen and made it for us Westerners. And one of the things he says is, what you resist persists. What you resist persists. What you are trying to get rid of usually stays. But if you stare at it long enough and just accept it as is, like once I accepted I got anxiety, it's a heck of a lot easier to deal with. Once I accept an issue I've been dealing with recently, hypochondria, I accept it. And it subsides, and it's manageable. Sometimes it flares up. Sometimes you have those. But I'm not going to go drink, and I know it's going to go away. And once we know that everything eventually does go away, we're all right. I mean, I made it through alcohol addiction and rehab and, fire departments and all kinds of things coming to get me and help me. I made it through a lot of that. I made it through mental hospital. I think I'll be okay with this little thing I have going on now. Or big thing. Or whatever it is.
Yeah, looking back on the past and seeing your successes. We've made it through all of us here on this call, we've made it through every difficult situation that we've ever had in our lives because we're still here, right? One of the tricky things about stopping drinking, one of the things that I would always do is I'd try to attack the alcohol itself right away. Like I'd do all those things that I bet all of you can relate to these things, like I'm going to only drink this many today, or I'm only going to drink tonight and that's it. I'm going to start at 5 p.m. or I'm only going to drink on weekends. I'm only going to drink at when I go out for a special occasion. Of course, special occasions become every occasion when I do that, or I'm not going to drink when I go out. All these things. Some people even move. They're like, I'm going to move to Canada or whatever, and the problem is there's still alcohol there, and the biggest problem is if I go to Canada, I'm still there. But trying to attack these things directly, and what I found was, yes, I had to stop drinking. I did have to attack the alcohol immediately and stop drinking. But what it was not the it was stopping drinking, but what am I trying to say here? But it was, once I was able to stop the drinking itself, then it was focusing on a better life. It wasn't focusing on keeping the alcohol away. Yeah, I had to do things like not go to parties and stuff like that, but it was focusing on building my life and building gratitude and becoming honest, because I was just a big liar. And when I was actively addicted, becoming honest, being open-minded to all those other programs that are out there. Whatever, they're fine. I tried stuff. Some didn't work, some did. Things like that. And just that honesty and the open-mindedness, the gratitude, those are huge. And that's what was able to get me to get some lasting sobriety, was not focusing on fighting the alcohol. If I was still fighting the alcohol after 7 years, I very much doubt I'd be sober right now. But that's how I was able to get it off the table, is build that better life. And that's what I did. And it's what works.
Absolutely. All right. Christine, well said. Quit fighting and I can deal. It's like a drowning person who almost drowns a lifeguard that's trying to save him. That's exactly what it is. All right. Any others standing out, or you want to talk more about the Talk Sober program?
Well, Donna had a question. I don't think we have that. She's wondering if you can respond on the printouts that we have. We don't have it set up that way yet.
Just get yourself a PDF editor. You can find a free one. You can get one for like $20. PDF editor will allow you to like edit and save those if you want.
Yeah, then you don't have the paper trail hanging around your house. Understandable. Yeah, how do you pronounce the name? Rohit?
Rohit.
Rohit. After quitting, anxiety is rising. When will I feel normal, please? Yeah, a lot of times Marcus can definitely talk about that. For me, the anxiety levels did go up a little bit. I didn't have a ton of anxiety when I got sober, but it's a very common thing that happens because when we get sober, all of a sudden these feelings that we were pushing down with alcohol start showing up, and they explode for some of us, and we just get really uneasy, and just do what I just said that I do, which is try to think about things you're grateful for that day. Sometimes you gotta get in the habit, go outside and sit in a chair, relax, enjoy the nature if you're able to do that, or so start to develop some other habit. Exercise. A lot of people on here have talked about exercise before, and for me, exercise was big. And once again, that's if you're able to do it. But try and if you can't exercise, maybe reading a book or painting, and so maybe cutting back on the caffeine and things like that.
Absolutely. He also says, what's the best thing to clear anxiety? Acceptance. I have anxiety. It's what it is. It's a chemical response in my brain. It's just chemical.
Yeah.
And if you understand that, then it's like, okay, now it'll start to go away, and it'll start to help.
Yep. Congrats on 11 months, Al. And there's some other people. I know, Lauren, you had some good time, 147 days or something like that. I can't scroll all the way back up, but some other people on here. Congratulations on all of your sobriety. That's great. 1 day is incredible. I could not get 1 hour of sobriety, so you get some sobriety in you. That's awesome. Try and build on it.
Haran says, what's the shocking reason for never drinking again? We talked about that about 17 minutes in. Watch the video again if you missed it. You got to watch it in progression, otherwise it doesn't make sense. All right, guys, I think that's about it for today. If you guys do want to help out what we're doing and get all that cool stuff, I mean, look at all this stuff we got to help you get and stay sober. We got all kinds of letters, all kinds of stuff to help you understand what's going on, deal with anxiety, deal with how your brain works. A lot of what I did is understanding how my brain works. I made this a study. I got obsessed with it, as I do with just about everything. As OCD types, we like to obsess about stuff. And you'll go through, and there's letters you could read on each topic. There's a video Terry put together on each topic. All kinds of stuff, and all you got to do is go over to talksober.com, click on the big yellow button, fill out the form that looks like this, and you'll be part of our inner circle of alcohol recovery people. Susan, good to have you here from Ohio.
Hello, Susan.
All right, any last minute words or anything you want to say there, Terry?
Stay sober, everybody. You guys can do it. It doesn't matter how many times you've tried. It doesn't matter what you did before. If you want to get sober, you can. You have to take responsibility for your sobriety, though. That's one thing that is important. And you have to take the action. And that's what sobriety is all about, is taking action towards your sobriety. It can be difficult, and for most of us it is difficult. But you can get through it. You can get sober. So it's great to see everybody today.
All right, guys, I think that's about it for today. Ended a little early. But go over to talksober.com. Check out all the stuff we have. There's lots of downloads. There's actually some free stuff there as well. And we're going to have all kinds of calls in there. There's all kinds of stuff to help you out. Talksober.com. Thanks for being here. Subscribe, click the bell. Check out the other videos. And we'll see you next week. as soon as I find the button. There's the button.